Hello, I'm Max Phillips.
And I'm Nathan Little.
And I am Alex Maxwell. And today, finally, we will be watching, reviewing, critiquing our short film Isle, which I feel like is going to be a lot of fun for me in particular.
Just you.
It's just me.
We're going to hate the experience.
Yep, yeah. This is going to be an awful next hour and a half.
Yeah, so I don't know if we should like kind of precurse this. Precurse? Like a precursor.
Preface?
Preface. That's the... I only used that word the other day.
Words.
Yesterday, I used the word preface, and here I am today. Prefaceless.
Wow.
No. About kind of... Do we like the film? Max, do you like this film?
Wow. Oh, I didn't expect to be attacked this early on.
Attacked?
Yes and no. I do. I think I need to take sort of nostalgia out of the equation because the whole process of making it, I liked very much. It was a great time. And after it was finally done in the edit, I was like, this is better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But
so low expectations.
There's a period in between those where my expectations dropped from the highs of when we were filming it, and we saw the first cut of it.
Sorry.
When it was just me and Nathan saw Nathan saw it first and then showed me, and we were both like,
"Oh no,
oh, shit!" We put so much time into this. But then, as I say, it came back up, and I think, I've not watched it in a while, actually. I thought I'd just save my reaction for this. But I think the last time that I watched it, I thought it's better than I expected.
I think for me, it almost... I'm kind of the same. It's a yes and a no. It's not like... I don't like the...
film.
No, the story of it is good. It's the execution of the story, I think. It's too much, I think, for the length of time that it's given. And I'm not saying if it was longer it'd be better, because that's not how that works.
Especially for Isle.
Yeah. And this might
34 minutes it started off.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That was first cut, in fairness. That was the first cut of it. 34 minutes.
Which is why when you watch this with us, which is why you'll understand why the first cut that we saw was like, oh no.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting as well is the first longer cut had more. I think one of the main kind of, not even critiques, it's just a comment, is I didn't really get it. And I mean, that's fair. That's a fair comment. I think without the context of how it was written, why it was written, and when it was written, you might not get it. You might not get it even then. I think the first cut had a lot more information in it, which might have made it clearer, but it made it very, very dull.
Yeah.
Like, there's a shot of him in the window eating an apple, looking up at the sky.
There was a lot of him doing things that didn't progress. It was just like... But the thing is, it was the point of the film. It was like showing them the monotony of his life. But in showing the monotony of his life, you just sit there for 5 minutes. Just like, he's done this before.
Yeah.
I think it was finding the balance. We
kind of had a workaround. Yeah, we had that workaround in the end, which it's all right. I'm happy enough with how it went. Alex,
why don't you tell us about the pre-production, seeing as you wrote the film?
So, I wrote Isle initially as a short story, which I can objectively say, I could step back and say that short story was a better story. Because obviously in prose you're going to have that space to kind of give that information without showing it, and just be like, hey, he did this every day. But then when it translates to film, when you're writing it, you could say he does this again and again, and that's 2 lines. But when you're showing that, you're showing it again and again, and you're watching it like, ugh. So I wrote this as a short story, and then obviously coming from a film background, I was like, hey, you know what? This could be a good film. And so I rewrote it. I rewrote it as a screenplay. And I was pretty happy. It was about 30 pages, which was a bit long. Sent it to the guys. They were like, yeah, this could be something we could do. And I basically, my first point of call was going to the Isle of Man Arts Council, and I was saying, I have this idea for a screenplay. This is my plan for doing it. Can I have some money? And, it's not quite as simple as, can I? Yes. There was paperwork. I had to get references and plans and break down the budget of the film and show where I was going to get kind of the balance of the finances. And kind of once that got signed off, it was like, oh, okay, shit, right. I mean, I've said that as if that was all within a few days. That was like a couple months of work after writing it, which was another however long. And then it was a case of like finding locations and casting the film, props, big props, building props, buying props.
Yeah.
And it was wild. Like, we had a location that I'd found, which was really great. This was before you guys came over for location scouting as well. I'd found somewhere.
So the location that I thought was the first one wasn't even the first one.
Maybe. Oh god, I don't know.
You had to go across a really long trail.
Oh, had you guys already been over at that point?
Was that when we did Lost in Our World 2?
Yeah.
Right.
That was the first one.
Then.
That was the first one. They had said yes, that we could use this location. It was like this little cottage on this little hidden beach. And then, I think like 2 weeks prior to filming, they were like, we've changed our mind.
Yeah.
And so I don't want this to sound suspicious, and obviously it's a horrible thing, but like 3 days later, the hillside behind it was a really hot, dry summer, and it set on fire. And that was like, I the amount of jokes I had fired my way, like, is this you? I was like, no, I haven't turned to arson. Yet. I am yet to turn to arson. But, it was kind of like a weird, like, okay, well, maybe that wasn't where we should have been. And it was such a mad scramble, like two weeks to shooting. And our location fell through. And our catering was set around that location. So not only did we have to get a new location, we had to get a new caterer, because they said we're not going to go that far. I was like, oh my god, we live in the Isle of Man. Nowhere is far. Come on. But they were like, no, not going to do it. So, like, at this point, I had so much going on, because again, 2 weeks till shoot. My mum was like, leave it to me. I was like, thank you. Because obviously, like, we couldn't have done this film on our own. Like, I couldn't have done it without you guys.
No, and like, there was only so much that we could do from England, So like, we did a lot of pre-production for sure, but in terms of location arrangements and caterers and stuff, like, we wouldn't have, even if we were over there, we wouldn't have a clue on who to go to, because we're not in the know at all. So
exactly. So it was kind of like who can do this? Because I don't have the time. It was a crazy process, especially the building. Like, you'll see, like, at the beginning, boxes, and it's not super clear because we didn't have enough wind, but there's parachutes attached to the boxes, which, myself and my granddad made the boxes. I bought the material, and I personally sewed parachutes. They looked cool.
They looked really good.
Yeah.
But it was a shame you didn't get to see it.
Well, I mean, that's just one of the other limitations of the whole thing. It was just like,
do you remember we bought a giant? We borrowed a giant fan.
Thinking
it
didn't work.
This will blow the parachute up into the air.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was like a big decorator's fan.
Yeah.
for like when they're indoors, like drying out the paint and stuff, I guess. And we thought, right, we don't have enough wind at the moment. It's not picking it up. Let's see if we can borrow this enormous fan.
Yeah.
Turns out they're pretty useless outside.
Did absolutely nothing. But again, it's just like the thing. It's like we didn't have enough. I'm sure if we had a decent person doing like VFX or something, we could have done something with it.
Well, we tried to basically like hold it up,
and then
just shot
run away,
and like throw it up and run.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work.
We've got some behind the scenes photos of that as well, I'm pretty sure.
We'll have to cut those in if we can find them. Well,
yeah.
you obviously know where they are. But I mean, it was a hefty pre-production process.
Yeah. And to go back to the location thing, I do think that's a blessing in disguise, though.
Yes, because of where we got.
First of all, the place that your mum found was incredible. Like, for just like perfect for what we needed, you know, and just nice and isolated, so we didn't
that
get
lasagna
at all.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to the lasagna, mate. We'll get to the
lasagna.
But the first one was a nightmare to get to. I remember walking over. It must have been. Maybe I'm exaggerating here. It felt like it was like a mile from the van to where we wanted to shoot.
It was a long.
Well,
it wasn't even like easily accessible path either, because we had not like heavy camera equipment or anything, but even
heavy
taking
lights.
it from where
we had a large
location we
prop.
ended up in across that rocky beach, and that was like 100 meters.
Yeah.
And that felt like an eternity to get all of the camera stuff across. Imagine taking it a mile down this little dirt path like that. We never would have got it.
Alex was like, I found this amazing location, and we were like, oh, sick. And then he showed us pictures, and we were like, oh, that's great. Like, that looks perfect. And then we were walking there, and he was like, you just got to walk along this sort of cliffside. And like, if you've been to like beaches and along sand dunes and stuff, or if you live in the countryside, you'll just know what these types of paths are like. Whether these tiny little ones along like hillsides.
Like grass and shit.
Yeah, grass on one side, and then a fucking cliff on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, just walking it. You were like, I'm tired, let alone having to carry stuff.
Because it was an incline. There was a big incline to get up, to then walk across, and then down. And I remember I was trying to find the farmer who owned the farmland above the location, to be like, can we drive down? And it was a nightmare to get to him, and by the time he said yes, the location had pulled. So it was like 2 weeks prior to filming that I even got a yes, and I was like, oh my god. But I mean, it wouldn't have been possible without that, given the size of certain props that had been built.
Yeah,
that we'll get to.
And
like,
when you consider the people that we had on set to carry any equipment or props or whatever, that those people were us three and no one else. That would have been an absolute nightmare. I mean, it was hard enough as it is where we were. It was okay, like the middle days, but the first day, lugging everything across this big long pebble beach, which I don't know if we have any shots in Isle of it. I can't really remember, but we certainly have photos of it. So if not, you can just insert that here.
Yeah,
we kind of cheated it to make it look like he was walking further than he was.
And it was a good 100 meters of pebbles, and we parked the van as close as we could, and had a generator in that van. And then plugging because this little cottage we were in had no electricity whatsoever, so we needed a generator. And we basically just did all of that movement ourselves. Obviously, if someone there like Jack
and the running
was
of the
there
cables
on set, they'd help us. But for the most part, it was just us three at the start of every day and the end of every night. And they were long days.
And the portaloos were late. We had portaloos.
Yeah,
proper profesh.
That felt great.
Yeah. And they gave us two. We only ordered one.
I know, but that was good because we ended up.
It was a day late, and we got two of them.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know if you remember it, but we were like, we'll have one for girls and one for guys.
Yeah.
And then
there was one girl.
I think that fell through after like an hour because Ariane was like, "How many shits do you think I'm gonna take?"
That does sound like But I mean, yeah, it was a slog, but where we ended up filming in a place called Cornet, and if you've been, it's this stunning place. There's this it used to be basically like a telegraph house, so it wasn't even a house that people lived in. And I remember myself and Jack and Ariane, before you guys came over, basically shifted all the furniture into it to make it look like somewhere that someone was living in. That included, and again with the other location, would not have been possible, a fridge, a cooker, a massive armchair.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, these things were from like the tip. It was great. I had to like I was speaking to the guy at the tip, and I was like, "Can I have a fridge?" And it's like, "Are you? We're not supposed to like. They're not for reuse. They're done." I was like, "It's not to be used as a prop. It's not even being plugged in." And he was like, "Right, that's fine." And so that was all right. But my God, shifting that, I think my dad and my granddad helped me kit it out as well, because my dad was over at the time, and that was rough. And like by the time we were doing it, it was dark, so we had like head torches on, dragging a cooker, an old battered cooker, to this house over the Pebbles, and it was something else.
I think because I've got here in my notes what sums up Isle for me, and that ties into what sums it up, is that it was very, very much a low budget film that we were making ourselves. With a lot of hard graft, like a lot of hard graft. But at the same time, it was sort of our first taste of professionalism and like having stuff. So yeah, we had this amazing like set and stuff that we'd acquired ourselves. But having all that stuff and having all that gear and a generator and portaloos and all that stuff was awesome. It made it feel way more professional, and caterers and stuff. But then having to do everything ourselves,
it was like a
made
balance.
it feel like it was like the ultimate.
We were still doing the old stuff, but then like we had got like the almost like an extra level. It was like, okay, we've hit like this extra kind of level of professionalism. You're like, oh, we still don't have anyone because we can't afford to hire anyone. Let's do it all ourselves, basically. Apart from the people that did come and help out, like we can't say
we had quite a few people on set, but
and
no doubt they helped. Yeah, people pitched in, but we were also very conscious of, time that people were giving us. So people say that people we were working with, be it any of the actors, singular, be it Jared, Jack, Ariane, Richard, any of them, anyone who's on set, they got about, let's say, what would you say, 7 hours?
More than
8
that.
hours? More than that for them. And then ours was like more like 12, 14 hours.
14 I would say.
Because we'd get there 2 hours before and then spend 2 hours afterwards.
I think most of the time we said 10 till 10 for the days. And then we ended up getting there like ever so slightly early. But then because we were packing up, it would be like 11, 12 o'clock before we
wouldn't get home till like 1 or 2.
And then that's the thing as well. So then we wouldn't even finish then, because then we would, me, you, and I don't know why I'm saying me, you, and Alex were the only ones in this call.
And Craig.
And then us three would then go back to Alex's and then sit in his office and plan for the next day what we hadn't already planned, because obviously
offload the footage.
Offload all the footage. Post anything on socials that we needed to do, so go through the behind the scenes photos to show what we were doing, and then plan for the next day, and then sit and go I
think most nights it was go to sleep at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, wake up at 7, 8 o'clock maybe.
And I think what's interesting is like it's important to point out it was a 5-day shoot, but we had a night shoot, so I think we did the night shoot maybe on the second day. And then from there, it was clawing back time. So you've done a night shoot, so you can't ask people to come back at like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, come at 12, and we'll work till we can. So you've got a couple of like darker shots planned, and then you kind of just like turning that clock each day, and it's a logistical challenge.
I think the biggest issue with that night shoot is that we didn't quite factor in was because we had scenes that were all at night, and some of them were interior, so we were like, okay, let's just black out the inside of the house. We didn't see daylight for that day, unless we went outside for a little bit just to eat food or something. But when we were inside, it was 9 o'clock till, well, I can't remember when we got, but it was like, I think we finished at 11. Everyone finished at 11 of that day. But we were in there 9 o'clock till 11 in a dark room, and then we would go and film outside in the night. We didn't see daylight for 24 hours or something. It was ridiculous.
It affects your, as Alex said, it affects the way you think of time. So it makes it harder to keep track of time, because you can't just constantly check a watch or whatever. Like, you do that as much as you can, but when you've all got a role on set, you can't be like, someone holding a boom and then, you know what I mean? Like, so you lose track of time there. But also just like that lack of vitamin D, like it just gets to you. And we've spoken about it before, but like that night shoot day was the roughest day, just because I think all our moods were just so low, and then it makes arguments easier. Well, not arguments, but the debates are a lot more likely to happen when you've not seen sunlight for so long.
Everyone's just a bit on edge and kind of
And I will say, because I know we've spoken about it before, and we joked about like Alex being a nightmare to work with. Alex isn't a nightmare to work with; he's actually a delight. But he's just very passionate about what he wants, and as are all of us. But we have different opinions, so that's how these things happen. But then, say when the day would be done, we'd then us three sit in the van and be like, "I'm sorry."
It was every time, like half an hour.
It was so weird. Like we'd close the doors in the van, even if the mood was like dead on the ground. We'd close the doors and go, "Oh, why did we behave like that today? What was that?
We're friends. We like each other."
But I think
there is always
so
those
funny
moments
to me.
of tension and contention. But at the end of the day, you're all there for the same reason, and you're here because you're friends in the first place. That's why we've set out on this, and we knew it was not going to be easy. Like, I remember, I think it was the second to last day, I want to say the Thursday. I feel like we did it in a week, in the work week.
It was, yeah.
I remember on the Thursday, I got home, and it was a weird one because it's emotionally tasking, and bear in mind we were talking about the pre-production. From writing that short story to starting filming was about 9 months. Yeah. And that we were putting our all into it. And it was like the second to last day. And obviously you've got the editing and all that, and you're not finished when you're finished. But I remember just getting home after that day, kind of going to my room, and I just burst out crying. I don't remember if I told you this, but I burst out crying. I was like, what am I supposed to do after this? This has been my life for the best part of a year. Yeah. And it's going to be finished tomorrow.
Do you know what? I didn't remember that at all until about 5 minutes before we were set to film. So Alex wasn't in the call yet, and I was just saying to Nathan, I was like, because I've got a bunch of notes on Isle and stuff that's happened around it of what I want to talk about, and I was like, I'm sure there's more. I'm sure I can find something that we've not talked about before. So I went back onto our old Facebook chat and just typed in keywords to try and find things from back then. And then one of them was you had messaged our group chat at about 11, so we probably had just got home. And as we said before, like we'd go into your office and then carry on work for the next few hours. But it was just, you just messaged the group chat saying, feel free to come up, I've just gone outside for some air. And I was like, what? I don't remember. And then I was like, oh god, I remember that, because then I remember you coming in and being like really emotional about it. And we did work for the next day, but we also then spent that night sort of talking as friends. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I think that was the night that Jack came round with us afterwards, and we just sat and watched Vines in your bedroom.
That sounds right, to be fair. Yeah, well, it was mixed. I was about to say, yeah, it was low, but I don't know if that's a fair assessment. I just didn't know what to do anymore. Yeah. It was such a mix of the high and the low, because it's like, we did it. We've still had to edit it, but we'd done this, like, what felt like this massive task, like this massive job, like accomplishment. And it is, I think, even now looking at it, it is a huge accomplishment that we did what we did with what we had when we did it.
For sure. It's one of the best things I've ever done, regardless of the outcome of the film. just of how much I learned about so much stuff about how to, because I wasn't directing this one, so I was first ADing and obviously co-producing it. So it was very much of how to deal with people, and I've been pretty shit at that in the past, whereas I feel like since Isle I got better at it, because you can understand how different people work, especially when this was the first shoot that we'd done where it wasn't just people our own age.
Yeah.
So
we had grown-ups involved.
So you get used to you get used to how to deal with certain personality types and certain personality types that you might clash with, you know? Which no, I'm not gonna. I'm not a bitch. But you know what I mean? Like, so you're not gonna get on with everyone in life.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things. Whereas I think going into it, I expected that I'd be like, you know, like sort of like it was. To be fair, I was expecting us to just be doing stupid Bo Burnham quotes for an entire week while we're trying to shoot around it, and then someone else going, "What?"
Which we did a little bit.
Which we totally did.
A lot. What do you mean a little bit? That was so.
We were doing that. We were doing Vine references.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we're saying this like it was, 2013. This was 2018. We were talking about dead Vines at this point. That we were just on set going like, "Free Shavakadu."
I stand by that. That's such a funny fucking video.
Yeah.
Get yourself down to Del Taco.
But I think that's part of it that it's not necessarily a lesson learned, but it's something that, when you first experience that, work can be so fun. And like just different things from it. Like at the end of one of the nights going and doing a car park photo shoot, because we drove past it and I went, "I like that lighting in there. Can we do an Instagram photo shoot in there?" And you guys were like, "Fucking no." Especially Nathan was like, "I'm not doing that." And then like 10 minutes into it, you'll see them like,
yeah.
I think that's still my Instagram. It is still my Instagram like profile picture. It's in Chester Street car park. Yeah. Very, very funny.
And that was just so good. And like living off a diet of purely McDonald's every night, except for lasagna day.
Lasagna day.
I mean, and what better time to talk about the best thing out of this set was, I'll tell you why I cherish lasagna day more than anyone else's. So I am vegetarian, and I was the only one on set, but they brought me the same size lasagna as everybody else.
So and to indicate that it was vegetarian, they just put like a tomato on top.
Yeah. And people were like, "Oh, can I have a bit of your vegetarian one?" And in my head, I wanted to be like, "No." But I was obviously like, "Do you think I'm going to eat all of this?" And then
there was another day I was
totally
jealous.
did that. I didn't do it in one sitting. And again, we can put in a picture here. These were big portions of lasagna.
Oh yeah.
So we had it for lunch on that day, and then when we got home
dinner.
we all had it for tea. But then I had it again for like breakfast the next day and took more on set and ate it while we were filming.
How we got it back to Alex's house?
Oh yeah,
we put it.
I don't.
Do you not remember? We were in the truck and in the van going, "The lasagna!"
It was in like the back of the van on top of everything because we forgot to bring it in with us. And
every time we hit a red light, it like shifted forwards, and we were like, we had so much expensive stuff in that van, but the one thing all of us were thinking was like, "The lasagna!"
Oh, that is. Cause I remember as well, because that, like we had the generator in the back of the van. Yeah. And like each day we'd shift it to the back of the van, put everything in, drive back, and then we'd move it to the edge so that it had like the space to breathe. But that it would not stay still.
Oh.
We were like tying it down, but like anytime we hit like a bend, or I'm fairly sure my side door of the van doesn't open properly, and I'm fairly sure it's because at one point we went around a corner and that generator just went.
I remember having to work with that door like the next day and being like, "Who's broken it?"
Oops. Oh no! Oh wait, no! That's my current van door. We rented that van.
No, we didn't.
We rented the van.
No, we didn't. We did not.
No.
We did not break our rented van.
No.
Don't know what you mean. Anyway. No. It wasn't broken.
No, it wasn't broken in the end. I think there was just something jamming it. I think it was one of the flight cases full of lights that was like, we had to climb in the back to move it to then get the door free. But it was a pain in the ass. But yeah, the lasagna. That was I was jealous of you on another day for being vegetarian, because we got some like chicken thing, and you got mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, you had some minging like casserole thing.
Ugh.
And that's just personal preference. There was nothing minging about the food. It was fine. It was good. See,
I wasn't hot on the chicken.
But for me, I would have like killed myself. Like I'm not a casserole guy. I'm not exaggerating either. I would have.
I'm going in
taken
the sea.
my own life. Yeah, just walked into the sea.
At that point in the shoot, it's like no. Jeremy Clarkson, you'd be punching some people in the face. Get this chicken out my fucking face.
Yeah, and then
bang.
And Alex was just like proper staring me out like, hope you're enjoying your mac and cheese. And I don't know what you expected me to do, but I just remember being like, I am, it's really good actually.
I like nice little florets of broccoli in it, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, great memory, Jesus. Yeah, that was elite. We were really blessed with the catering on that set. Every day was great.
Shout out to the Glen Mona Hotel.
Yeah.
Amazing food. Max doesn't like casserole. Sorry.
Yeah. But it wasn't for me. I had mac and cheese, so we were all good.
That's okay.
But yeah, so I also wanted to just talk about it because I've just realised I've got it in my notes and I missed it. But going back to this thing of it was this weird balance of felt very professional, but also we were low budget, just trying to make something. Was the absolute fiasco that me and Nathan had getting there. And back. So
wait, is this the time?
No.
Is this the time?
No, because we came.
No, not then. That's a funny story, though. I will tell that because that is funny. That's a funny. That can be clipped. Funny. So I was. We were going over, I think, for your birthday.
Is this the story?
Yeah. I think it was for your birthday.
Because we flew over, but you were coming from Manchester. We came from Liverpool.
Yeah. So I flew in from Manchester, and as Nathan said, our flights were set to go at the same time.
But there was delays.
Mine ended up being delayed. So you, Andrew, was Ollie there?
Yes.
Ollie, Katie definitely was, but that quad / trio.
I think Nathan was like the first to arrive.
They arrived together, didn't you? Anyway, you'd already arrived. You'd already flown.
Yeah.
And you had. I was using my phone because I was just travelling light because I was just going to Isle of Man.
Like a weekend.
Yeah. So I was just using my phone as a ticket, as you do, just scanning through. And as I was getting on the plane, so I made it through security. I made it through everything. Obviously fine because I'm not a criminal, so I was fine. But as I was getting on the plane, Nathan messaged our group chat saying, "Did you manage to hide the drugs?" Just thinking he's funny. But right at that second that he happened to send it, I was showing my ticket to the last person you see before you get on a plane. And then he went, "What's that?" And I looked at it and went, in my head I was like, "You fucking But I was sort of laughing
bastard.
Because I was like, surely he's gonna understand that that's a joke. But I was just like, oh, he's just messing about. And he went,
nope.
Then they went like full on, like, and they were like, "Can you just step aside, please, sir?" And then I had to go into a separate room. I was first in the queue on this plane, and I had to go into a separate room where they strip searched me for drugs. And then they were like, "All right, you're good to go. You can go and get back on the plane." I will say it wasn't like a full-on, like a bend over cough strip search, but it was a lot, like take off your trousers,
it was too much for a
take off your
Facebook
trousers,
message.
take off your jumper and stuff, and then I was like, "Look, I don't know what to tell you. It's just a joke." And then they let me back on the plane, but then I had to get back on the plane, and all these people, because I was first in the queue, all these people were just looking at me like. I was like, they've let me bag on. Why are you shaking your head? Do you think if they'd been like, oh, you have, yeah, you got so much cocaine. Well, come on.
It's actually like, wow, that's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
I think
not even mad.
The funniest part of that is the fact that, I mean, you told us, you'd come back and you're like, you guys are dickheads, I got searched for drugs. It wasn't made initially clear that you were strip searched. And it wasn't till like months later, could be the following year when we next saw each other, we would talk about it, having a laugh, and you were like, I was taken to a separate room and made to take off my clothes. And we were like, what? That is so funny.
I mean, yes, it is funny, but I was so mad. Funny. I was so mad. I remember walking through your front door and being like, hi Alex, 1 minute, walked straight over to Nathan and went, you dickhead. Like, I'd literally sat on the plane, literally like, I'm gonna fucking kill him.
So
but anyway,
fucking funny.
So Isle was a different thing. That was a fiasco, but
yeah, you
totally,
got the vote for Isle.
Totally fine. Yes. So it ties into the thing I was saying before. It was super low budget, but we felt professional because we had so much gear that we were taking over, except
cocaine.
It was yeah. No,
fucking loads
so much
of gear.
camera and lighting gear. But me and Nathan had to lug that from his flat down through the docks onto the ferry, which was a nightmare. Like, an absolute waking nightmare. I still have nightmares about it today, just trying to get that shit across. And then getting onto the ferry, and we were like, look, half of this is really expensive, we'd really prefer it if we can just keep it with us. And they were like, no. Right, okay. So we ended up compromising and having, like, double what we were supposed to have.
They took the hard case.
Yeah.
Because we were like, listen, like, because the light, I don't know why I'm looking around as if I'm going to have it next to me, but the lights that we had were in like soft bags. And we're like, listen, we can't just let you throw this shit on. Take the hard, anything that's in a hard case, you can take that. That should be okay. But we're like, please, can you like really make sure, like really look after this shit? Because if we don't have it, we don't make a film.
And I was carrying a jib, and they thought it was a weapon. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah. They were like, what's this? Can you show me how it works? And I was like, I mean, I can tell you how it works, but it's Nathan's. I'm not going to set up a whole jib on the fucking plane.
It was
the ferry, rather.
The Ronin, the gimbal. Because it was in like a briefcase thing, and they were like,
it's a
what's
gun.
In there? Like,
just like, ching, ching.
Why would you have like a briefcase? I think we were like, we can't show you because it's going to take so much effort to set up. Just please believe us.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
Google it. It says Ronin on it, please.
Yeah. So that was getting there, which was fun, and then we eventually made it, and then getting back was worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, it had been a really long day. We'd we'd shot, but we took down the whole set. And by take down, I mean we started taking it down and then went, let's just break everything. So
which
we then smashed the shit out of so much stuff because we were going to take it to the tip anyway. It wasn't going to be.
You almost
reused.
Fucking chopped your foot off.
Oh yeah.
You swung an axe at a bookcase, and it like cut through the bookcase like butter. Yeah. And the axe hit you in the foot.
Yeah.
But luckily had lost enough momentum not to cut it off.
Yeah, I remember as well because you were like, "Oh my god!" and I just didn't even faze me. I was like, "Oh, that was close. I'm gonna end up badly."
I think you could see like the small sort of slice just on like the top layer of material.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh no!" That, I mean, like we had insurance. We had insurance for the shoot, but I didn't want to use it.
Yeah,
right in that form, it's like, I cut off own foot.
But yeah, so. It was getting back was a pain because we'd been doing that all day.
Prix?
Yeah, and so we then got stuck in traffic trying to take all that crap to the tip.
It was the access
road. We were stuck in traffic for a long time.
And I called the ferry company, and I was like, when is the last time you let people on? And they were like, I think it was like 20 minutes, like half an hour from where we were. And we were like, it's gonna take us 20 minutes to half an hour to get through all this.
Yeah.
So I think
I think they made an exception that I think there'd been, I want to say there'd been like an accident or something, and they knew.
I think
there was this big hold up on the access road.
The GP.
But the access road is normally fine, but they close it. They close it to traffic if an ambulance has to get through.
Right.
For like an outside of the race emergency.
They should have closed it for us.
Well,
we had to get a ferry.
We were sat like standstill for at least 20 minutes before making any progress, and even then that was slow.
We were in that van for at least 2 hours.
Yeah,
I'm positive of it. And then we made it to the tip, and then it was like the whole plan was then to go back to yours because we still had stuff there. So then we had to then go back to yours and pack the quickest I've ever packed in my life. And at this point, when we made it to yours, was when the ferry was supposed to be leaving. And we were just like, do you know what? Fuck it. If we miss the ferry, we miss it, but we may as well just go for it. And it was so stressful. Like, I had to text work like, hey, might not be in work tomorrow. But we did eventually make it because it was delayed so long. And then the ferry journey was fine, and then we got into Liverpool where they held us at the dock for about an hour for no fucking reason. I mean, I'm sure they had a reason, but as far as I was concerned, no reason. And then,
did they give one in the end?
No. Well, they may have, but I didn't hear it. And then got off the ferry, helped Nathan because I wasn't just going to leave him leave him carry all the shit. So
I don't know if it was this time or was it because we got off and I was like, instead of us lugging all this crap back to my flat, I'll just run down, get my car, then come back, get you, dump everything off at my flat, and then you could go and get the train. Yeah. Because I couldn't take everything by myself.
Yeah. So I had to then sit with this nice little old lady who helped me watch all, like, I was surrounded, like, the fucking woman with pigeons in there, Home Alone, with all this gear just going, like, feed the birds. And she was just like, what have you been doing? And I was just like, I'm too tired to make conversation, but I'm making a film, a big one. And I was like, big one. And then, but it was like the most awkward like half hour of small talk, and then loaded into the car, and then finally made my train, which was the last train going into Manchester because it was the day of the train strikes. You know, convenient. And made it into Manchester, and I live just outside of Manchester, so I needed another train, and I was like, well, I'm not making that. So I got off and I was like, right, I'll order an Uber. I had like 10% battery. Ordered an Uber at Manchester Victoria, which is attached to the Manchester Arena, which just so happened right as I got off my train that the Joe Weller KSI fight had just finished. So Uber prices were through the roof of where I was. And I paid 80 quid to get home.
Fuck off.
Yeah, 80 quid. I mean, we obviously put it through the Glassline account, but...
Yeah, because, it was necessary.
And that was just an absolute nightmare. So that was a good fun. That's, I think, is all I had to say about pre-production, because it was just this sort of...
I think that kind of summarizes the whole thing, though, is like this, what seemed like an awful, like, journey. Like, in terms of, like, when we were actually filming there, at times we were like, this is just the worst day of my life in the past few days. This has just been terrible. But looking back on it, I don't actually remember any of like the bad stuff. I just remember us having fun.
Yeah, absolutely same. As much as all the stuff I've just said sounds like very stressful, and it was. All my memories from it are great.
It shouldn't be a fond memory.
No, but it is. Yeah, it is. And just like chatting to my taxi driver about it, and he was dead interested, and I was like, "This is nice. It's nice that you're interested." But just like the woman from before, please stop talking to me so I can just go to her.
I think that's probably like, if there's any takeaway of this for like anyone who's like starting or wanting to make films and stuff, it's just like, it's not going to be easy, and just persevere with it, because it does. It pans out. It's worth it.
Unless you're being a wizard, then it's a piece of piss.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. The difference is, when you don't plan something, you have nothing to go wrong.
Yeah.
So don't plan anything.
Never plan.
It can't not go to plan if you don't have one.
Exactly.
Oh, well,
anyway, let's go.
Welcome to the show.
Oh yeah.
And now we're in.
We're doing a podcast.
Right.
All right. Let's go for it.
Let's talk about this wonderful project.
Without further ado, Isle. Oh, a black screen for a while. Is this working? Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yes. Alright, let's pause it there, yeah?
We should have had Fireflies playing instead of this.
I'd like to point out, last time we spoke about, dusty effects, it wasn't a practical effect. It was done in post. However, this dust is real, if Nathan recalls.
I don't recall. I didn't know that.
Nathan made this
is.
dust floating across the screen.
Yeah, I mean the other, it's still a visual effect. It wasn't like we were there with like little letters and like spraying dust everywhere.
I guess.
Oh, that's what
but
I was
Nathan
fully
made this.
picturing.
It was like you set
not
your
the
camera up to like
text.
super slow-mo and a light and just fired deodorant or something.
Yeah, it's antiperspirant deodorant.
Because it's powdery.
Yeah, it's like a powdery thing. Yeah,
I had an issue with that before I started recording. I went to put deodorant on and then had to go and wash it off because I was covered in powder.
I hate
The
when that
worst. Your armpit hair sticks together.
Oh,
It's the worst.
I think one of the things to like bear in mind, like regardless of story issues, this film looks fit.
And
Like, look at
sounds
that.
good. Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, that's something that I was pointed out yesterday by a friend of mine, Rory, that the score underneath it,
Mm.
it seems like it's one cohesive score,
Yep.
but that like it all always fits what's happening.
there's only one piece of music that I have issue with, but we'll get to it later.
Yeah, but he was asking me. He was like, "Who scored it?" I was like, "Artlist." These are already existing songs.
Sponsored by Artlist.
Yeah. That
No,
is
I have to
Jared
say
Moore.
that my favourite bit about this, and it's not to like stroke my own ego. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this looks so good.
It does.
Yes. 100%.
People are like, "What was this shot on?" It's like GH5, and GH5's a good camera.
Mm.
It's not. It's not a camera that a film studio would use. But it's a very good camera.
It's certainly
But
not a
like
cheap
people
camera.
are surprised. People are surprised.
I
when
went for a job
when
interview,
you say
and
that.
I always showed Isle because it looks great. Not like the whole film, but like I think we had the trailer at
Just
that
sit
point.
and watch the whole thing.
Sit and watch the whole thing.
Do you
I had
like
a
it?
trailer.
Hire me.
We had the trailer at that point, and I showed it to them, and they were like, "What was this shot on? Like a red or something?" I was like,
Camera.
Wow.
"Do you think it was shot on a red? It was a GH5, man. Like something
You
that was
sh-
like."
You should have gone, yes. Was.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I have access to one of them. Didn't get that job.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, why?
Because he's shit. Move on.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Here we go. Like that. Okay. Kind of going back to the. I'll just go back. This is probably the most clear shot of the room.
Mhm.
This was empty.
Including the curtains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the curtains. There was curtain poles, and those are just old curtains. My mum had just recently got new curtains, so these were still hanging about.
Yeah.
And
And they were
curtains,
just
cooker,
they were just
pot,
tied to
kettle.
the poles with strings.
yeah, or clamped.
Clamped, yes,
Yes.
they were. They were
Yeah.
clamped.
We've got rugs. We've got a fold-out bed, courtesy of the Divers family. Like everything you see in this room was dragged across a beach
Twice.
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
A lot of it was broken. I
I
think
have-
that cooker broke on the last day. We were like,
Yeah,
we went
'cause
to
we put a
open it,
hammer
and
in
it
it.
fell off. Well,
Yeah,
we
it-
hit it with
didn't
the
it
hammer, and it
shatter?
didn't break.
Yeah, it shattered, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, the hammer didn't break it because we hit like down onto it, and it didn't break. But then it like fell off, and then just shattered
I
the
don't
glass
remember
everywhere. It was very
Sounds
funny.
right,
Well,
though.
talking about the oven, you can actually see a light in the reflection.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was like something stuck to it.
Yeah, it looks like it,
doesn't.
doesn't
You wouldn't go, that's a light, because it's like an LED panel. It's like all kind of.
I didn't even know that was a light. Just like
see
you
it now,
didn't know
but-
that I had something in my teeth.
Yeah.
But
Prick.
I mean, if we're going to kind of dissect this a little bit, seeing as we're on it, that light coming through was the Arri 2K that we had.
Yep.
Yeah, that we have.
There was almost
That we have.
always just running, like, we had that
Constantly
constantly
through that window.
Yeah.
Because it just looked great. When you get it at that right angle, it looks like sunrise.
Yeah.
Or sunset. In this case, it's sunrise. But, like, so I think we had... Oh, there it is.
Wow. There she is.
It's heavy, actually.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
So we had
Right.
that shining through. And then we had, I think, on the other side, to kind of get a bit of contrast, we had, like, a big black... I don't know, it wasn't Duvetine, we had a big black sheet to, like, cut down the reflection. And then that panel there was to light up his shoes, because there wasn't enough texture on them in the lighting, because you could barely see them, and it just looked like this blob on the camera. So like, right, well, put a panel down there and just shine some light on the shoes.
Yeah. And look, that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It just does.
I think this was this the
hats off
first
to
shot
Nathan.
that we did
Took my hat off
in the
already.
whole film. Not like on the
certainly
first day.
one
This
of
was the first thing we did.
few. This
And I
scene
think
was
we all
And
three
we
of us were
fucking
just like
nailed
around
it.
the monitor, like
We did it, boys.
we all looked at each other. We were like, "This looks great."
Yeah, because the first setup you do, you're like, oh yeah, it'll take X amount of time, and it takes at least double it.
Yeah.
Because you've run a cable. Like after that, all the cables are out, the lights are out, it's fine. But like it got to this point, and it'd already been so much hard work, and we saw that, and it's like, oh,
It was worth it.
this wasn't for nothing. Then we edited it. And a dog.
Go on, Bob.
The angle of that jump matched up. And he's a beautiful man.
He is.
Even my girlfriend says he's a beautiful man.
I think anyone would say that.
We have to talk about the fridge.
Yeah, that was fun.
Now, to me, there was a lot in the edit. There was disagreement about the fridge, and we'll get to that later. To me, the fridge was an integral part of the film.
I agreed with you for once. Actually, normally it's me and Nathan going no.
Yeah, the thing
Stu-
it is
dumb.
such a small detail. It is a very small detail.
I
but
100% agree.
it was just one of those kind of. I think one of the things you have to be wary of when you're directing something you've written is to detach us. You have to have the connection, otherwise it's going to be shit. But you have to find those moments and be like, what can I cut?
Yeah.
And I don't know why I just couldn't cut the fridge situation. But technically I'd like to talk about it. Because that fridge wasn't hooked up to anything. We could have had like a little kill switch. But
Well, as we said
I'll
before,
let
it was
you
just-
guys.
They're dead.
Yeah. I think, Nathan, do you want to explain what we did here? If you remember.
Yeah, we had
Who was it?
this
Me.
light.
Is it
I'm
Max?
pretty sure.
Yep.
I think it was Max.
Yeah, it's me.
And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we just did this.
Yep.
Into the fridge.
Yeah,
So like
into
Max
the
is right
fridge.
underneath
Like-
Jared.
Yeah.
Like down, like
Which is why he's leaning like that.
yeah.
Superman that.
You know how we all look at a fridge.
Yeah, that's how I do it. And I remember we were like, can we show the Baker's logo?
Yeah. Well, this
that-
podcast
is that
is
an
brought
issue?
to you by Baker's, the best a dog can get.
Baker's, Artlist, McDonald's and Road. Any of you.
Give us
Sponsor us.
money.
Pay us.
We're not sponsored by them, but we're trying to
Wanna
be.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bo Burnham.
No burning, yeah.
We continue. That's my dad's.
No, that's
That's
Jared.
Jax.
I was like, I really don't want to fucking flood this because he uses this.
Yeah. Oh, that panning.
Oh yes. Ooh, the
So,
first
yeah,
build of the
First
week.
box, yeah.
Yeah, I think the first kind of bit that's confusing,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
which could be intentional if it was better explained. Which I think
it doesn't look like it's just landed there at all. It looks
No.
like
Yeah,
it's always been there.
That's what we were talking about before, kind of with
Yeah.
the parachute. So me and my granddad built these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly my granddad on the build stuff.
He grafted, man. I remember
worked so hard.
with the plane coming round for the first time
Whoa!
to see it. Oh,
Whoa,
pays off, they've
Max.
seen it.
Spoil. Yeah, why would you be here if you haven't watched it?
But I remember going around to see the plane for the first time, and on this occasion, my plane wasn't delayed. My real plane wasn't delayed, but Nathan's was. So I'd arrived in the Isle of Man like half a day before him. I think you arrived in the evening, and then me, you, and your granddad finished off the plane. But you were like, you might have to help us build some stuff, and I was like, oh, that's fine, thinking it was going to be nothing. And I got there, and there was like this full thing built, and I was like, what? When did this happen?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell us this had happened?
Because, like, I mean, I'll get into it a bit more later, but, like, we had a big frame welded. We had it so that it could be split into 3 parts for transport. It was wild.
Yeah, it's
And the boxes. Now, what isn't clear here is that we hear the helicopter, we never see it because we couldn't afford one. And to be fair, I looked up so many like stock footage helicopter shots, and just none of them would have worked. Like,
I think it was
if
at that point where you were like, hey Nathan, how good are you with 3D?
Yeah, can you composite a helicopter with a box underneath it?
We could
Just
do a recut
fucking-
now.
Yeah, now that you're on the 3D game.
Yeah.
But like that was why we were trying to get that parachute billowing down. Like we could just have that. It's just landed, and it's full of supplies.
Realistically, we could have just thrown the box, couldn't we?
I guess. I mean, it was full of shit.
Yeah, but
Oh
we'd
no,
have
we
taken
wouldn't
the
have had
shit
to have
out
it
of it.
full of shit. Yeah, that's me forgetting that this is a film.
Yeah, we could have just
I
thrown the
suppose
box.
there's another shot later of the box where it's more clear that there's a parachute. I do love that
the most
cut.
efficient way to cut a box. Just
I think-
smash it down the middle.
Yeah.
Well, it's how he deals with the box is also kind of another small detail, because later on when he decides he's going to build something, because he's just chopping that up for firewood there.
Yeah.
He's just caning it with an axe without a care in the world. Later on, he's dismantling it, and so it's kind of showing that difference. But where the box came from is very unclear.
I think this.
I love this scene. This
it looks so nice.
Looks gorgeous.
the sequence is so
And that was
fair.
the thing that was interesting about the location, because this was in the same place as the house. It was literally
And the
on
same
that
place
pebble
as the
beach.
grassland.
Yeah.
It's like a marshland a minute away.
It was
if
all
you're not carrying
within
kit.
about, I don't know, a couple of
I
minutes.
love that. Because with the sound effects, it's like, oh yeah, he's cast that off the rocks into the sea. That landed like maybe 8 feet in front of him
Yeah.
on some rocks. Excellent.
You
I pointed
could
this out
totally
yesterday.
tell, actually. You could see the fucking sand.
I think what's interesting, I pointed this out, and I remember when we talked about, like, I can't remember if we agreed or disagreed, but probably disagreed. But it was kind of one of those, we'll just have to leave it. We are currently 3.5 minutes in. We had that fucking, like, the hint at this moment 3 minutes ago. Like, the opening scene of the film is like, this is what's coming, how does he get there? And he gets there, like, 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, so if we dive into that, in the first edit, the first shot is him waking up, and I
Yes.
said to you, no, we're
It
not
is
having him
Interest.
waking up, getting dressed. We're not having like the feet going down. It's a student film. We're not doing any of this. Like
Yeah.
I did
Let-
that in a student film.
everyone does it.
But
in a
I'd like to
student
make the
film.
point. Max shot from inside.
I've done it in a student film, actually. I've done the waking up as the first shot.
But I was like, it's the classic student film. We're beyond that point. We're not starting with him starting his day. We're not having him wake up, okay? So I think, because I had edited some of it, and then you took over because I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore.
I hate it.
This
I
was-
hate it. It's
I know,
killing my
it's-
soul.
To be fair, this was that wasn't like you'd been editing it for like 2 days and then went, I hate
No.
it. this was like over the course of a good 6-month period.
Yeah, I think it had got to the point where I was
trying
like,
different cuts,
and we couldn't agree.
Yeah,
and I think one thing that's important as well, like, we are friends, we are good fucking best mates.
Yeah,
and it was getting to the point where all we were talking about was this, and I think, to be honest, that decision to kind of say that you were going to step away from it and kind of I would take over.
Yeah,
I think that was the best call for our friendship that could have been made. Because I think we were both really struggling to deal with each other at that point.
I think the biggest issue was that because you had written it and you had, because the script was the way the film was going to be, as scripts are supposed to be, but this wasn't like there's wiggle room in it. This is how the film is. He does this thing, because there's no dialogue. You can't really.
It's a set of instructions.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't as much of a script as it was like the story, and this is the way it's going to be. And I think the problem that I had with it was nothing happened until this point. And in the first edit, I think this was like 5 minutes into the film. Like, if the first bit of action is 5 minutes into the film, in a 20-minute film, why are we bothering with like the rest of it? Let's get straight into it. And I think what we were saying about the fridge bit, I said cut that entire first bit and get straight into this bit, because this is the interesting bit. And that was where the disagreements came in. And I think it was at that point where I was like, if you take over, keep my bit in, because I like that as the introduction. I think we all agreed that introduction was strong.
And then it builds that intrigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wholly agree. I 100% agree that was the right call.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just you two either. If you remember, I'd sort of not rewritten, but I had restructured and planned things to reshoot for it.
Yeah.
About 3 months down the line, that would make it more interesting, which was
we did do like a second load of shooting with like, obviously you guys were in the UK, and it was just a day, but me and Nick and Jack met up and did a couple of basically pickups, because we had to restructure the end as well.
Yeah,
well, which I think came from Max as well.
Yeah, the thing.
Yes, it did. That last day. Oh, I know we were busy, but I spent all of that last day going, Alex, we need pickups. We don't have
time.
We don't have any. And you're like, we don't have time. I was like, what I'm saying is we need to prioritize it and make time. You're like, we don't have time. Yeah, I'm saying.
So I did it to make a year later.
Yeah. But the ideas that me and Max had were like, because I know you came over to my flat maybe 2 or 3 times while I was trying to edit it. Yeah. And we were like there with just like sheets and sheets of paper, like, what can we do? How do we add stuff to this? And we had come up with this idea where he was like in this alternate reality, like,
it was
I want to say a simulation.
It was basically just making the metaphor of the film and giving hints of it, but not subtextually, just making it. So the idea is that this island that he's on is a metaphor for him being trapped in his own brain. So we were like, why don't we just include shots of just like the city that sort of like just shutter slightly and just like, you know, glitch into his world, that would basically tell a story visually without having to reshoot anything. And that just became way too complicated to try and execute at any point, so we had to drop it. But
I think as well, we were like, why are we there's a film here, it's been written, why are we trying to add more stuff to it?
Yeah, I agree.
And that shot was funny.
So lucky.
Do you remember us seeing the boat? And
we were like this.
You were like,
boat.
And I was like running down to the beach with the boat.
Because we, again, like the helicopter, we were like, we could probably like composite in a boat, right?
Yeah,
be fine. But it was like, boat.
We were got
a boat.
I remember it so well because we did that classic, very human thing of we knew full well it was something we needed, but we were filming something else and we were like, oh, there's a boat over there. Oh shit! There's a boat over there.
I think we heard it. I think there was just this like in the, like, very very faint, but it's like it was that kind of like shit. Like that.
Which is why it's like all jittery.
Yeah.
'Cause we're still like trying to set the camera and like.
I think you had the lens like so, like it was such a long lens, and it was kind of taking what we had at the beginning, showing the same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
Is this the music you didn't like?
No.
No.
I was gonna say I like that little melody.
Look at that. Look at the angst. Handheld.
That wasn't even a. I don't think
A
that
proper
was a
shot.
Yeah, I think that was like a. I was just
Improv.
setting up or something, and that was the only shot of that specific angle that because we wanted that, and we hadn't got it.
I love that soft glow.
Yeah.
That is from. Oh, let's get it. The Tiffin Warm Black Pro Mist half. Tiffin, if you want to send me any filters, I'd be happy to accept them.
So this was kind of the compromise on showing the monotony. Was kind of having this kind of ramped up, sped
I
up
argued for this very
montage.
strongly.
And
I remember, I reckon if you look back on our chat history, I must have said the word montage 50 times. I'm just going, it needs it for the pace. Oh, that shot was gorgeous.
Which one?
Oh, he sat in his living room, not that one before it.
That one.
Oh.
That is...
So warm and delicious.
Like Jared. Again, shout out to Jared Moore. If you want to hire him, get in touch, because he is an actor. Very good at it.
Yeah, very good.
Actor, director. He's been doing a lot of theatre productions.
And also,
in the lockdown.
a goddamn pleasure to work with. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
So
the
easy.
nicest guy.
Such a nice guy.
I'd like to point out, I don't even know. I wrote it in, and in my head I'm trying to think what I was thinking. There's a shot later where he just chugs the rest of the milk in the fridge. He just fucking drinks a lot of it. I think in my head it was like, he's made this decision. He doesn't need to keep anything in his fridge. He might as well fucking drink it. The most pointless bullshit shot, but we got it.
Yeah.
Because it was written. And he's fucking lactose intolerant. Well, he was like, I think it was like the third take. He was like, "Am I gonna have to drink much more of this?" I was like, "Why?" He was like, I am lactose intolerant." I was like, "For fuck's sake, Jared." We could have got some Alpro lashed in a milk bottle, mate.
That's so good.
But that's the thing, he's so polite.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's there for the same reason we're there. And obviously as an actor to build his profile and have stuff for a showreel, but to make a film, to tell a story.
Yeah.
And if that's what's in the story, and if that's what the writer and director and the team have said needs to be there, he didn't even question it. And it took a few takes for him to say, you know, hang on, this could cause me some significant bowel problems.
Thankfully, we had 2 Portaloos on site.
Yes. One was allocated to Jared. No, but I do love that shot.
Again, the score's really nice here. And also, I could definitely write this. I said, in terms of score, I'm listening to it, I'm going, nothing I can do. Also, the drawings in this book kill me every time. So fucking funny. Why has he kept
I forgot to do it.
This weird, pathetic doodle of him with Mummy and Daddy at the start of it? It's so cringe.
In my head, I had planned like to get someone to do this, and it was gonna be this progression. Like he's had this notebook from childhood, and it was gonna start off like these crude crayon drawings.
Yeah.
And you'd watch that through this. You were gonna see the progression of him into adulthood, making designs for boats. Forgot to do that.
So it's just him with the same pen, a picture of him with his mum and dad in stick figures, and then I'm going to start designing a boat now. No other doodles.
Which I'd like to point out, I drew them.
Yes.
Because it was like, we need this shot, and I was like, fuck, the book's empty.
But I did write a lot of the almost numbers.
You did. And we got Jared to do some as well. Because it was like handwriting.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like That's my handwriting. It's quite different to Jared's handwriting.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a moment of peace, which is quite nice.
They just calls them C. I don't know what boats are.
Shut up. It's relevant. I was well confused. I was like, is the sound out? But that was Max blowing down the microphone.
No. This is a weird shot, right?
Yeah.
Because surely you should be framed to the right. I mean, I can see why now, but weird to have him looking into dead space.
Look at that 2K light blaring into his eyes.
Just looking out,
Staring.
blinding himself.
There we go. Oh, here it is.
Here's the milk jug.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
We had a line there that we cut.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was.
It was something like he sat down and proper talked to Barbara about how he was going to leave or something.
I thought that was later on.
Oh, maybe.
No, I kept that line, but there was a line there as well.
That's the problem with this film. It all looks the same.
I think it's important to remember, like I think we've mentioned it before, is that there's always three versions of a film, and it's the film that you write, the film that you shoot, and the film that you edit. And that this film is so that if there was like a cover child for that, it would be this poster child.
Cover child. If there was a poster child for that concept, it is this film. Yeah.
Because this is not what was written.
Changed in every stage.
Even more so, it was not what was wrote. No, shot. It wasn't what was shot.
Yeah.
Sorry. And to be honest, it wasn't what was initially edited. This is like draft 18 or something.
More than that.
Yeah. There's many drafts. We should get Nathan's 3-minute draft of the film. Which broke my heart.
I don't think I finished it. I think it was one where I was like, I'm going to try and edit this down to 3 minutes.
To prove a point.
To prove a point. Yeah.
And it hurt me. Hurt me. I understood what he was doing, but I hated it so much. Not from a creative point. It was kind of just like, because it was my baby, and I think that was something that I didn't take into account, was the emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
And handing over something you care to do, because it was a very personal script. It was like we say, a lot of this is metaphor, and it was a metaphor for a lot of the things I was feeling at that point in time.
Yeah.
Because it was post uni. I think I wrote the short story not long after I came home after going to uni, and you build a family at university. We became a family. Like you guys and everyone lived with, and I came home, and it was a strange sensation because you've come home, but you're homesick.
Yeah.
And it was just this longing for something more, and you're like him. He's on an island. He feels isolated. He has everything he needs. Like the helicopter is really just something that's there to deliver that. Is that he has what he needs where he is, but he is desperate for more. And I think that's really the film. That's the film. Whether or not it's executed entirely, there is a lot of interpretation to be had, because it is kind of, I suppose, high concept to an extent. But it's handing over that baby and saying, here, have my heart and soul, change it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And I think if you are a writer / director or whatever, I suppose mostly a writer, it's definitely something to take into account. Are you comfortable giving this away? You know?
Because it's also perfectly okay to say, no, I want to edit this too. Like, I don't think it's bad to be like, I want to write it, direct and edit the whole thing because I have a very specific vision. I think it's okay to have people who are going to assist you on that way to get you to the point where it's going to be as good as it could possibly be. But I don't think it's selfish to be like, no, I want the control of this because I know how I want it.
We're very fortunate to be in a place where any of us could have hypothetically, because obviously our skills are varied, so like I couldn't have filmed what Nathan filmed because he's a much better videographer than me, but
I could, especially at that point in time.
He's a much better DOP than me, but my mind is all there, and I think like, so if you take away the technical ability, we could all execute exactly what the other person wants because we've known each other for so long.
Yeah.
So if Alex was like, I've written this and I can't direct it, and asked me to direct it, I'm fairly confident that I could direct it the way he would want it to be done.
It's like knowing someone who can paint. Like, I am so envious. My girlfriend Hannah is ridiculously good at drawing and painting.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot draw or paint for shit. As we saw when I tried to animate Nick last week, that's not been put out, and it should never be put out. I cannot draw. I can doodle, as we saw on our animated logo, but we had some issues with Nick's footage.
But not in the notebook.
Yeah, I just want to say, you've brought it up now, and you didn't have to bring it up, but you can't bring it up and go, and it's not going to see the light of day, because now you have brought it up. I just want to say, we had some problems with Nick's footage for episode 3. We got it out, it's all fixed, all good. Go and watch it, it's great. But
Thank you, Nathan.
for a while, it looked like we might not have any footage of Nick. We had his audio, so Alex was like, I'm going to animate it around it. And that should have been a red flag to me. but I was like, yeah, man, go for it. Let's see what it turns out. And he sent the most cursed image that I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, dude, we got a good thing going here. We can't put this out. It looks like a year 1 did it.
I think it was the eyes, mostly.
It was the everything.
Okay.
You said you were like, I can't draw eyes. I was like, oh yeah, the eyes are the problem.
But it's like, but you can picture what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get the pen to the paper, you're betrayed by your own hand. Yeah. And it is that kind of, that thing. It's like, here, you have it. You know how to do it. And you know how I want it to be done.
Yeah.
I beg of you, please. And we kind of go into, I mean, as much as this isn't kind of student film-esque, there are parallels in that there isn't a lot of dialogue. But there is a monologue, and it's a true story, based on a situation that happened when I was a child, with my stepdad, about flying a kite.
Did I ever tell you about the kite? I was 8 or 9. And
There is a funny bit here, in that
first proper kite.
obviously you're working with a dog, and the dog's just eating like
flies,
mosquitoes or flies or whatever it was. She's like,
The minute I saw a clear patch of sky, I was out there. Dad showing me how to steer it.
Looks so majestic.
The wind kept picking up, and
I think we had about 4 or 5 different edits of this scene.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we both.
There's one
had
where it was
different-
like Super 8 footage,
Yeah.
which I wasn't. I wasn't against it necessarily. I think I would have liked to have seen
with his belt.
another
He
flashback
was basically flying
with it
me, flying
to
the
make
kite.
it work,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
He had dialogue originally as well, didn't he? That we decided against.
Yeah.
Up and I'd fly away. Doesn't seem
Drums.
Like such a bad idea now, does it?
Brum, bum, bum.
I think the helicopter comes in slightly too late.
Yeah, it's almost drowned out by the music.
Now you can hear it.
Hey! Stop! Land! Stop! Stop! Land! Land! You can't keep leaving me here! Hey! Hey!
Right, let's pick that apart. I'd like to.
It's
I'm going to
so
see if I can
bad.
find the frame. Oh, I don't know if I can scrub finely enough.
Looks like his leg fucking breaks cleaning off.
In fairness, on that marshland, you could have.
Yeah.
Someone fell in it. Nathan Russell Raby fell in it.
Yeah.
Do you remember his leg just went through the ground into the marsh
I
underneath?
don't remember that at all.
I do.
Oh.
Nathan, if you're watching this and you remember it, I'm sorry, but that was fucking hilarious. But there was something here. We needed to deal with like sound effects. We had to layer a lot of sound effects here to make it sound like he'd like tripped and hit his head off that crowbar. And it's something that you don't really see, but it took me hours. There's actually like a splatter of blood, and it's there for like 3 frames. It's fuck all. And then on this next shot, again, it wasn't clear. So if you look at the edge of the crowbar there,
Right, yeah.
there's a little spatter of blood.
Yeah.
Because it just... And again, it's little details, but it was something pointed out to me. It's like, I don't know that he's hit his head off of that. Looks like he's just gone, ah! And fallen on grass, but being knocked out.
Yeah.
And then he's then covered in blood.
And out of focus.
This is actually the beginning of my favourite sequence, despite the fact that, and this is my fault as the director, I was like, yeah, just wipe the wound with this rolled up bandage. And everyone was like, does Jared not know how to use a bandage? And I was like, listen, he's limited on supplies. But despite that,
You can build a
and
fucking
there's
plane,
another bit of
but
CGI.
Can't use a bandage.
No.
We'll watch
There's
the
another bit of
sequence first,
CGI.
and then I'll make a comment about.
Is this the music?
No. I'll tell you when it's the music.
I know. I'm excited to hear what the music is.
It's a new comment. I don't think I've heard this. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, lovely shot.
Here it
So
comes.
this entire scene,
That's a
this
great
whole
shot, isn't it?
sequence was that
so
bit
fast.
where it was this was the night shoot. This is where we hadn't seen daylight for the whole day. And it was right at the end of the day, and we had, I think, maybe half an hour to an hour left of filming. And I said, let's do it tomorrow. Let's reschedule. Let's do it tomorrow.
And I went,
And Alex was like, nope,
we
we're
can
not
do
doing
it.
We're filming now. So if anything, this scene is impressive because everything was one take.
I think it's an accolade to yourself, if anything, that this was all done in about half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Interior and exterior.
The
I
whole
think
thing.
including that exterior shot, that was like an
Where
hour.
he started, so the bit where he started from this whole scene was filmed in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It
'Cause
should
that's
have
all we
taken
had.
half a day.
Yeah.
This next shot, the close-up, is always commented on as like one of the best shots. Oh yeah, there's a little blinking light there in the sky. And
Yeah.
look closely. This is the shot that people love,
It's
by the way.
gorgeous.
I love that shot too.
It is a stunning shot. Oh, I've gone back too far. But
Look at his face. Like, am I really going to use this as a wipe?
On that close-up, watch his eyes. Look closely at his eyes. 'Cause
Yes.
we've seen that
yes.
red dot
It's
in
a
the
great
sky.
touch. And it's not a dead pixel.
Like, you barely fucking see it. But that light from the sky is blinking across his eyes as well. And that took me a painful amount of time. So I kept it in. This is why it was relevant that all the other ones were called C.
It's the one thing that confused me about the whole film. Like, has he not thought of a plane before? And then he
There's the
sees a plane,
parachute.
he's like, of course!
That's the parachute, by the way. And again, from there, kind of to like a minute, the next kind of minute to 2 minutes is my favorite kind of sequence. I think there's a little bit in this that makes me laugh, in that there's like this really powerful, emotive hit in the music, and it's when he's picking up the smallest fucking hammer you've seen in your life. It's like,
yeah, I remember.
It's like, it's what we had,
Mm.
but my god.
The thing that I really like about this sequence is, apart from a
Here it is.
fusion,
It's like a big Avengers hit.
apart from a few shots, it was all pretty much on a tripod.
Mm.
And then this bit's like, I think we had agreed, we were like, let's make his like whole like revelation of this bit like more chaotic, because it's almost like his venture out from the norm. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's make it all handheld. Let's make it all.
This music is
This
very
shot.
Studio Ghibli.
Mm.
Like this shot, I love as well.
Yeah. It
did
does.
this a
It
few
does
times
almost
with
feel
different
like he's going to
speeds
turn
and
to the
push.
camera and go, "Oh, hello! I didn't see you there."
And there's a little ting in the music just as he snips that last bit. And honestly, it was an accident. And oh,
Oh, nice.
right?
That's sick.
honestly, it was purely by accident. I'd kind of cut it roughly, and then stuck the music on. I was like, let's see how this plays out. Ah, we're back. We're back to the fridge.
There's me. There's me. This was interesting for me though, this role that I took on, because I really had to sort of, gain that acting
Be the fridge.
douche, whatever you'd say, and just be the fridge. I was thinking, well, it wouldn't just be a click clack, it'd be a click clack, click click clack. And, I was nominated for an Oscar for that role.
There's 2 points I want to make here. One is the clinking sound of the fridge light, because I had in my head like what a fridge light on the blink sounded like, and I was like looking it up. I was like trying to find like free sound effects, like license free sound effects. I couldn't find any. There's loads that buzzed a lot, like zzz, zzz.
Like a
Couldn't
fridge.
find any. Yeah, I think that was me with a cup or a bowl and a fork with my little Tascam, just going.
Nice.
Oh.
Ding, ding, ding. I was like, you know what? That's not too bad. But onto a more important story-based point is that kind of why I was fighting for this so much. The fridge, for whatever fucking reason, took on this kind of meaning. In that at the beginning, you see him with the fridge. The fridge is on the blink, and so he goes out straight away, sorts out the generator, gets his power back on, because this is his life. And at this point, he's made this decision to build what he's building in an attempt to leave, and it shows the finality of that decision, of he just stands and he waits for that light to die,
Yeah.
and when it does, he just closes the door, and it's done. I mean, not the film. There's still another
Yeah.
5 probably unnecessary minutes.
That would be great if it just ended there.
Yeah, just ended on the fridge.
Like, what was all that stuff
I mean,
he was
it might have
building
been
at
an
the
interesting. Yeah. What was that about, huh? But that's again, like, it's something people might not get, and I suppose, like a good joke, you shouldn't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here we are, several years later. Let me come back. Here we go.
Here's the music. It's
Oh,
the
you
Office.
don't like this music?
It's The Office.
Do you know what? I think the music's fine, but that first bit is very officey. That shot of the cliff there was one that I forced us to get, because you were just getting him to stand on like what was clearly just like a mound on the other side of the beach, and I was like, I feel like you need to make it look like a cliff.
Look
So
like a
then
cliff.
Me, Nathan, and Jared went over when you were busy doing something else and got that shot.
Yeah.
Can we address something? So we just saw him with some very funky, cool-looking flight goggles there, and we made such a point in the trailer, like the
Yeah.
goggles, and then in the edit we realized we took continuity, we put it in the bin, and we fucked it off the cliff because there was this shot of him like going to this case with the goggles in it. And I mean, looking back, it hadn't been addressed at all. So it was kind of stupid to do it.
Yeah.
But it was like this cool shot, and it was in the trailer, and it's like, ooh yeah, yay, cool goggles. But then the continuity of it, one shot he had them on, next shot he didn't have them on. So we were just like, fuck the goggles, it doesn't matter. I sewed them.
Yeah.
Did. I like this as well because it's just so chaotic. Like, it's not like loads of camera shake and like jarring edits, but it's like just enough that it just feels.
Yeah.
It feels.
And then
good.
just that rest on him as well. Just that rest. And what's interesting as well, that was all one shot. We just kind of danced around him taking that off, and then it was just chopping it.
And the reason it looks so great is, I think, one, the filter, and two, because it's all super shallow depth field. We had like a really heavy ND filter on it with that filter, and
the shallow depth of field makes this film.
And you just kind of wing it, and because it's like that quite chaotic movement anyway, when you lose focus, it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
An interesting point about what is clearly a plane. This shot wasn't almost in it, which probably would have killed the ending. Because what we had an issue with the plane is that at the end, when it's moving, we have it on a dolly. We basically took an old dolly because we had this track. You can rent the track, or actually you can buy it because I'm looking to sell. Get in touch. So it's bolted onto this dolly, not at this point, but for that shot.
Yeah.
And it was just, we couldn't get that kind of big, like, look what he's made. We had to just like show portions, and like this was the most you could see because there was a dolly underneath it. You couldn't show it. I couldn't make one with actual wheels because we needed to have that control over it.
Yeah.
I couldn't just stick Jared in this unsteerable like metal and wooden box. Like my insurance is good, but it wasn't that good. So it was just like, okay, well, we can't show the bottom bit of the plane, and it was just trying to, but you needed the wide shot to get the wings, and it was just tricky. So I mean, this is kind of the closest you get, which is it's a pity, really, looking back, like the effort. That,
I do think
like under all that is a welded frame.
Yeah.
Like, and people gave their time.
But then I mean, I guess as well, like if you think about Jaws, like I'm not saying that like it's kind of comparable because they're completely different meanings behind the reasons why.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, you barely see the shark, and if you did, when you freeze it looks a bit shit. It looks terrible, and they were limited by the fact that it looked like a terrible shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we couldn't show loads of it because obviously we had the limitations of it not having wheels. It was attached to a dolly.
It didn't look like a plane.
It didn't really look
it
like
was
a plane.
There was a purpose there in that it wasn't meant to look entirely like a plane.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was meant to look a bit shit. I remember my granddad being like, because my granddad is an aircraft engineer.
Yeah.
And
Clearly.
like planes have been like those wings are at like a slight tilt up.
Yeah.
Because he insisted they would be tilted up because it's a glider. And I was like, right, okay. And he wanted to make it nicer. And I was like, it needs to be a bit shit. And he's like, fine.
I agree with your granddad.
I know, but at the same time, it's like
hindsight's 2020.
This guy is also making a plane out of scrap wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that he's just collected. And we are asking the audience to suspend their disbelief a bit here. That from those boxes, he's got like 2 foot lengths of timber for the wings. But
and it's
I think this shot being
it's always left up in the air. In pun not intended there.
Get the fuck out!
It honestly wasn't. It's always
of
left up in
shit.
the air whether or not the plane works or not, and does that matter? No, like, that's not the point of it. I do think I we'll get to it at the end. It's still funny to me.
There's this one shot at the end where, for some reason, we just couldn't grade the fucker. Everything's gonna be okay. Aww. That's basically just like get the dog back in.
Yeah.
But there's a side shot that for whatever reason, do you remember this, Nathan? We could not grade it to match at all. There's this one coming up. This one coming up. This one. We could not match the colours at all. It was a pain in the hoop. But I don't remember why. Like, look at the colours there. And then there.
No, that shot as well, aside from being, yeah.
Is
it just the sun?
Yeah, he's under clouds in that first.
We just couldn't. We did our best.
The thing about that shot as well, it wasn't in the shot list. It was never planned. We were on the ferry. We were on the ferry over, and me and Nathan were like really worried about this final scene, man. Like really. Yeah.
Well, it didn't look like,
and we were sort of
anything was
not keeping it from you, but you know, because you were so like your heart was so in it, we were sort of trying to be like that, like look at things objectively, but just try and steer in the right direction type thing. So we were like,
yeah, because it's your guys' idea.
Yeah, we need to try and salvage this. So we were I think it was me, but it doesn't really matter who it was. I just remember going, we need to have a shot from the side, because originally we were just going to have a shot of the plane just going. And we were like, that's not going to look good at all with the plane we have, and the way we were going to shoot was on a dolly, which was great, and like better resources than most people would have, to be fair. But it would just never have looked good. It would have looked awful, to be frank. So we were like, we just need to have him close up on his face.
I think this was Nathan's, because it was quite a windy day, and I think he just spotted that this was happening, and it's just that the wind catching under the wing to kind of show
it's not moving.
No, it's not. But I think we put shake on it.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. It's like, it was one of those ones where it's like me just there while you guys were like talking in between shots, like this is gonna happen, like this is gonna catch.
Yeah. And it did. And I think I'd love to get I think there's behind the scenes footage of us doing it, of us fucking pushing this plane and like grabbing it, because originally we were gonna stick it on a winch. We were gonna make it with wheels. Do you remember talking about the potential? We were going to find a hill, have this thing with wheels,
and actually go,
and just push it, but on a winch, so it was going to like catch and slow, and then we could pull it back up. I'm so glad we didn't do that.
Yeah,
Jared would have been like, no, not doing that.
Yeah.
And especially seeing as it took us like 17 takes to do that close up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's fit though.
It's my biggest gripe with the film.
Huh?
My biggest gripe with the film is that last shot. Do you remember us disagreeing on the day about it?
I thought you wanted the...
No. But play the thing we'll talk, because it's that very last shot.
Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, but... You wanted him to play that like he did, so very subtly, very apprehensive in the sort of, he knows what he's doing. It's like any determination about it, whereas I thought it would be best if he played it with maximum intensity, like fear, so he was like shouting by the end of it, but you couldn't hear him. It would just be him silent shouting, you know, like that type thing. And you're like, nah, and that's fair. Like it was totally your call. It was about the meaning of the ending, which is obviously the most important shot, but I remember just being like, can we just try one take? And I don't know why, because normally I'm very good at convincing you to do the let's try the one take thing, and then you like it in the edit. Or, and I'm wrong, I'm not always right, I'm not one of those pricks. But on those occasions where I do have this thing where I'm very particular about, I'll be like, can we just try it just once? And you were just like, no. And we never compromised on it. It was the one thing that I lost to you.
That even surprised me.
It was the one thing that I think it was the time when I was mediating you two.
Yeah.
in the whole thing. Because I agreed with you. I was like, we might as well just get it. Let's just see what it looks like in the edit. And you were like, nope, we don't need to. We don't need it. It's not going to make the edit. And that was it. We didn't get it.
Savage Maxwell 2K18. Wow.
Yeah, right.
Oh dear. Oh
But
dear.
The thing is, I
never
watched
had
it back. I watched it back the other day. And I actually like the ending now. It's grown on me.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't.
Really?
It's faded away. I did. It's faded away from me.
I mean,
think
like
that shot
last...
like the Barbara segment. I'm like, that's so not how I wanted that to go.
Yeah.
in terms of like because I was like, yeah, he should be like screaming his head off towards the end, and then I watched it back and I was like, actually, it would have given a completely different vibe to the whole film. I think if he was like at that.
To explain it from my point of view of the writing, and I know it's a little bit dark, but it does kind of give a hint into where I was at the time. At that point in time, he's built this shit plane. We know it's shit. We don't know if it's going to do it. Like, it's, again, suspending your disbelief, and that kind of open-ended... I remember at one point we discussed, can we CG, like, the plane flying off into the sunset? But it was that cut into black, which Max suggested, and I loved it, because it was so true to the meaning of the story, of that, whether it flies, or whether he crashes off the cliff into the sea, it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
Because it's an escape. So he's either getting what he wants or it ends. And I know that it's kind of a somber look at that ending.
Yeah.
And there is kind of, it's very subtle in this ending, but we can talk about what we'd planned and why we were destroying the set in the way we were and throwing dirt everywhere. That is not how it was meant to go. We were just going to kind of see that thing cut to black, and then we were going to go back to it, and it was going to be this kind of slow, somber, we go back to where he was living, and though we saw this kind of slightly run down but still quite homey situation, it was going to be that everywhere that he was sleeping, like the bed wasn't a bed, it was just like ripped up sheets on the floor. There was no cooker, there was just like, I don't know, sticks and shit and like charred stuff in the corner, and all this, and basically everything that we've seen him see has been a coping mechanism for the shit situation he's been in, and it's kind of in his head, which is why at the end there the dog hops up on the couch and then it's a cuddly toy, because that was, again, it was going to be this big continuous shot where we'd walk in, we'd follow the dog in, see the dog there, then go back around and see all these things that we've seen, maybe with like flashes of what they were perceived to be, and then back to the dog all in one shot, which was impossible. We couldn't get the one shot because it's a dog, and it's not a trained dog. It's a home trained dog, and that's Barbara from Jack Divers as Barbara, who everyone on the Isle of Man should know, who was amazing to film with, but that was a big ask. So we ended up doing a lot of static shots of kind of everything that was there dilapidated. And like we went and got sand and dirt and battered everything and chucked dirt everywhere. And when it came to the edit and we edited it as like not a continuous shot and it was just kind of a segment of still shots, it just looked like we got back and everything was dirty.
Yeah.
That was it. Like it did not have the impact. So we did shoot it, but it didn't work in the edit, and that stuff with Barbara at the end was a reshoot.
The only bits that weren't was the interior, because you didn't have access to it again.
No, I didn't.
So anything
I had access to go in, but there was nothing there. So we got the shot of her going into the building and then used what we already had. And it was a shame, but it was just something. I mean, it was better than what I had originally written, which was a cat.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's never talk about the cat.
Mate, you've done well. I'm not going to bring it up now, but you've done well to go nearly 2 hours of us talking about Isle, and I haven't ripped you to pieces for a metaphor thing yet.
Yeah,
I do that every day when we're not recording.
That's true. He's being nice. Send help. Has this been 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's a big ask for people to watch.
Well,
so I'm not going to play. We can play the minute of credits.
Nope.
Look at everyone who was involved. That was Isle.
Yeah, I mean the biggest takeaway from it is just you learn
Don't
things.
make films.
No.
Oh yeah.
In the
Positive takeaway,
in the
positive
great
takeaway.
in the great words of our future sponsor Nike, just do it. You know, like
Get out.
We
Get
sorry.
out.
Yeah, I know.
No,
yeah.
I need to be
Yeah,
nice
no,
to you.
you're
Be
right.
nice to me.
No. But like it was such a. It wasn't on the fly, but it like our other stuff. But it was like we had this idea, and well, Alex had this idea, and then came to us with it. And we were like, yeah, it's good. Let's do it. And then suddenly it just, even though it was over 6 months, it just seemed to accelerate so fast, and it was like, oh shit, we're suddenly making this thing. And it had so many hurdles along the way, as we've talked about, so many problems with it. It took us a long time to put it out.
Well, it got shelved.
Yeah, it got
'cause
shelved a lot.
We were getting pay and work. We had to, you have to make a living doing this, and that was the point. And we were kind of getting jobs and working full-time jobs and getting the gigs.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, we'll do that in a bit. And it got shelved, and it took the first lockdown for me to finish the final bits.
Yeah.
I think I was like, Nathan, can you colour these 3 shots? Can you grade these 3 shots? And then we put it out, and it was like, oh yeah, I'd done what I needed to
When
do.
did we put it out?
Early this year, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we put
last year.
Yeah, last year.
Last 2020.
We put Lost in Our World out 2 in New Year's Day. I
10
think.
months ago.
Yeah.
And then Isles 10 months ago. That sounds right.
Wow.
I know, it feels longer
Because
we've seen it so many times.
Because we'd put out Lost in Our World 2, which was a shelved project, and we were like, oh, it's actually pretty good. We were like, I wonder if Isles pretty good. And
I started putting
we
it into
all watched
festivals.
it, and we were like, oh, it kind of is actually.
Mm.
Like, sure, it's not what we wanted or whatever, but no film ever will be. And yeah, like I was saying, it's just do it. Just go out if you want to make a film and you've got an idea, just do it, because you won't regret it. It's, first of all, it's the best. If you love making films, it's the funnest thing you can do. To do it with people, it's just, especially people that you're friends with, it's. I can't really compare it to anything else. It's like the funnest thing you can do, because
It's such a joy.
you're and when
In the highs and the lows.
and like you were saying, when we were looking on the monitor and you can see that it's looking good, and you're like, oh yes, like that feeling is great. That's just hard to replace. I would advise not eating McDonald's every day. You will get acid reflux. But other than that, do exactly what we did.
Yeah.
I do think, if there was
Get a
any
Portaloo.
advice, we're not exactly far in our filmmaking career. This was literally our first kind of actual short film.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a properly produced thing. But like, it is just keep going, basically. Like, the things you're gonna make are gonna be bad. This is probably like our 10th film, like actual film, not like shorts and like sketches and things, but like an actual film that we've made. And we still find holes with it, and it's still not great. But that doesn't mean we're gonna stop doing it.
Hell nah.
So yeah, I think that sort of wraps up episode 4.
It does.
We've got that's the last of our films we're going to talk about now. So in the future, all our podcasts are just going to be us talking. So look forward to those ones. Yeah, until we get a chance to make more stuff, which is hopefully soon, man. Like, oh god,
and we've got a few kind of other things coming out.
And since we
like
talked about it the other day, I've been writing more on my thing as well. So I'm gonna keep cracking on with that.
I think some of the ideas we've got as well are to kind of like not like actual writer's room, because I'm sure no one wants to sit and watch us being silent for like 20 minutes at a time, but like at least like pitching ideas to each other and like seeing how.
And we can discuss pictures that we've done before.
Yeah. We can talk about like that. That's sort of what it is. I feel like this is kind of more of like, seeing the journey of kind of amateur, semi-professional filmmakers.
Yeah. And being funny along the way, we're dead funny,
We're funny.
So, we hope that you stick with us. I know this has been like the sort of end of our 3-part series of just looking at our old work. And last episode was just more of a talky one with Nick, which was great. So it's going to be more of that in the future. So, more guests, more us talking. I mean, this has been 2 hours of us talking. But there'll be a lot more of that to come. So yeah, I think that's that.
Yeah. See you later, homies.
Bye.
Oh, nah, we can't end on that.